What do you make of a politician mysteriously dying from a fall in the wee hours of the morning at a political retreat, and whose death has been haunted by speculations for decades? In today's video, we will be looking at the mysterious death of Jamaican politician Kenneth Jones. Kenneth Arthur Newton Jones entered the world with his twin brother Keith on September 1st, 1924, in the beautiful parish of Portland, Jamaica. Their father, Frederick MacDonald Jones, was a planter and a prominent member of the local Anglican church, while their mother, Gladys Nee Smith, was a Quaker missionary. They later had 3 other children. Ken had a happy, stable childhood, and between 1935 and 1942, he attended Monroe College, a boarding school for boys in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. After that, he left Jamaica to attend Earlham College in Indiana, United States. Then in 1943, he joined the Canadian Royal Air Force. Upon completion of his training in Canada, Ken served as a flight sergeant in World War II, where about 400 Jamaicans served as RAF aircrew. Jones later returned to Jamaica in 1946, where he worked in business. Ken Jones embarked on his political career in 1955, when he was elected to the House of Representatives as the Member of Parliament for Eastern Portland. In 1962, the year of Jamaica's independence, he was appointed Minister of Communications and Works. While Ken's political career was taking off, his personal life also blossomed when he got married to Marlene Doverne Holtz in 1958, and 2 years later in 1960, they welcomed daughter Gladys Rebecca Jones. Ken enjoyed a fulfilled life as a husband, father, and politician until his untimely death in 1964. Let's take a look at the series of events leading to and following his death. On October 11, 1964, Ken Jones was among other Jamaican politicians at a weekend cabinet retreat at the Sunset Lodge Hotel in Montego Bay, St. James. His wife and their 2-year-old daughter had been staying at the home of the Minister of Health, Dr. Herbert Eldemire, since the family's arrival in Montego Bay 2 days earlier. The purpose of the weekend retreat was so that members of cabinet, members of parliament, and other civil service advisors could review government policies and plan future actions. This island getaway destination would make an ironically eerie backdrop for the events that followed. On the second night of the retreat, October 10th at about 11 o'clock, Ken called his wife to check in with her, and he was seen doing so on the telephone in the hotel lobby. Sometime between 1 and 2 in the early morning of October 11th, some ministers and their dates, along with others, were seen partying at a nearby club. It appears Jones did not go to the club, however, because, according to one witness, during that time, Jones was drinking downstairs with him, while he and others teased Jones about not going clubbing with the other ministers. Jones then went back to his room on the 2nd floor. At the time, the Sunset Lodge Hotel was a 2-story building with rooms opening out to balconies overlooking a beautiful garden. Between 2 and 2:30 a.m., guests say they saw and heard a man fall from one of the balconies of the hotel. The man had fallen onto the pavement in the bed of the garden below. He was wearing pajamas and appeared motionless, but he was heard groaning. People immediately started to gather around him, and they soon discovered the man on the pavement was Ken Jones. The Jamaica Gleaner, a prominent newspaper in the island, years later interviewed some workers and other persons who were present on the night of the incident under the condition of anonymity. These are some of their accounts regarding what happened that night. One witness said it happened so quick, just like woof, and the man came flying at my feet. He said he saw a lady coming out of a room on the ground floor, and he immediately called out to her, informing her that one of her men had fallen and she should come see who it was, but she just waved him away, turned, and walked back inside. He said this made him suspicious, because why wouldn't she come to see who it was? It was not revealed why he referred to Ken as one of her men, nor was her identity reported. But if true, his suspicions seem valid. Because who was this lady, and why did she react this way? The theory of sleepwalking was mentioned by one witness, and was apparently the official story reported by the media. This theory would have been readily accepted had it not been mentioned by one witness that shortly after the fall, he went into the room that was occupied by Jones, and there were 2 cigarettes still burning in the ashtray and ice still in the glasses. The witness said when he showed it to the superintendent on the scene, he was told to go downstairs. This account suggests that sometime between Jones having a drink downstairs in the hotel and him falling from the balcony, there were people smoking cigarettes and drinking in his room. There is no official report of this evidence from investigations, however. Another witness said that after the fall, he looked up at Jones's balcony and saw a lady going back into the room. Surprisingly, though, this was the only mention of this lady and her presence on Jones's balcony. Her identity has also not been confirmed. Adding to suspicions around the sleepwalking theory was an account of a bloodstain on a wall given by another witness. He said, soon after the incident, he saw a bloodstain on the wall of the room occupied by Jones, and that it looked like if you were staggering and you put out your hand and it sloped down the wall. He said there were 3 or 4 marks, but they later painted them out. These different accounts no doubt causes one to question the sleepwalking theory. And if you do, you aren't alone. One of the witnesses who was interviewed said, that sleepwalking evidence was the wickedest thing since they nailed Christ to the cross. He was not sleeping, he said. Another went even further to say, if you're going to trick me good, don't make it so plain. While another witness said, what I think happened, I am a small man, and what I really think I couldn't say it, but everybody was in them liquor, and I think them get in a fight and throw 'em off the balcony. One witness said when he arrived and saw Jones lying on the pavement, he heard him groaning, but he was removed from the pavement and put to lie on a bed in a downstairs room soon after. Jones remained conscious but was in a state of shock as the then Minister of Health, Dr. Eldemeyer, and his brother, Dr. Arthur Eldemeyer, attempted treatment. 5 more doctors joined in on the care of Jones before he was taken to a nearby hospital. While at the hospital, Jones underwent surgery, and it was found that his liver had been ruptured in 8 places, that he had been bleeding internally, and that it seemed impossible to stop the hemorrhaging. With his extensive injuries, Jones exhausted the blood supply the hospital had in reserve, and the blood of Honorable Edward Siega, the then Minister of Development and Welfare, who eventually became one of Jamaica's prime ministers, was flown in from Kingston to assist Jones. Altogether, Jones received 13 pints of blood during the operation, but after 5.5 hours, he was pronounced dead. There is no evidence that Jones ever said anything before he died. After his death, a coroner's inquest was conducted to determine the circumstances and cause of Jones's death. The inquest, surprisingly, only lasted 2 days, and many of the witnesses whose accounts were relied on to create this video said they were not asked to give statements, and for those who were, they were never asked to give evidence at the coroner's inquest. There were even allegations that people were asked to rewrite their statements, and that their evidence was dumped when they would not change it. One of the witnesses interviewed by the Gleaner said, "I gave a statement, but they gave it back to me 6 or 7 times. I say it doesn't matter how many times they ask me. I cannot change it. In the end, they never used it." Not very much was discovered regarding the details of the inquest, but what we do know is that the final verdict was misadventure. Misadventure is similar to a verdict of accidental death, but in a case of misadventure, the individual is found to have deliberately undertaken an action that resulted in death. What this means in this case is, the court found that Jones's death was caused by his own action of sleepwalking. It is important to highlight that shortly after the incident, it was the relatives of Jones who revealed he had a history of sleepwalking, and it was believed that this may have been the reason for his fatal accident. This undoubtedly added credence to the sleepwalking theory. This theory was clearly not completely accepted or settled, since the Jamaica Gleaner newspaper felt compelled to revisit the story 30 years later in 1994. In an article about his death, the Gleaner stated that Jones deserved more, and why would his family and colleagues, who professed to admiring him so much, settle for less? It went on to say that the inescapable conclusion is that whatever they conspired to hide could have destabilized the government. So, it must have been something more serious than drunken hijinks. Manslaughter, perhaps, or even murder, said the article. Notably, it was rumored that prior to his death, Jones was tipped to take over the top job from then Prime Minister Honorable Alexander Bustamante. The Jamaican political scene in the 1960s was similar to what it is now, where the main political parties were the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP, and the People's National Party, PNP. Jones was a member of the JLP, which was the ruling party. Since Jones passed before he could succeed Bustamante, the job was given to Honorable Donald Sangster, who fell ill and died just 2 months into the job. Was the Gleaner and all the other skeptics right to suspect foul play? Could Jones's death have anything to do with his rumored future role? And could it have really destabilized the government? "60 years later, and there are still many unanswered questions surrounding the death of the then 40-year-old husband, father, and politician, who was described as being a man of honor and a Christian. At his funeral, it was said that he left an indelible mark not only on the parish of Portland, but on the entire country. But what do you think happened to Ken Jones at the retreat? Was he merely sleepwalking after a night of drinking? Or was he pushed from the balcony? Was he joined by someone for a nightcap after he went back to his room? Also, do you think his injuries align with a fall from a 2-story building? Officially, it has been determined that Ken Jones fell to his death while sleepwalking. However, many believe there was foul play, but after so long, we may never get the truth. Comment your thoughts and theories. Like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.